putting on wet socks and shoes. It rained last night. Everything is wet. Alright, it's day 1015, I think. And, yeah, just packed up, left the shelter tent area, and back on the trail. Oh, it looks like we start the morning crossing the river with a stream. Alright, woke up a little ragged. Probably didn't sleep as well as I'd like to. I'll talk about that in a bit, but yeah, since last night was the first night we've tent or shelter camped in over 800 miles. Well, it's kind of like making some rookie mistakes again. So what did I forget to bring? First, camp shoes. I didn't bring them. So it's either put the wet hiking shoes back on or walk around barefoot. So I walked around barefoot, but kind of a pain in the butt. Plus I had to wash my feet off every time to get back in the tent. Yeah. Also, forgot to check and see if I had fuel in my fuel canister. The answer is no. So, yeah. So I had cold water coffee this morning, which is not a big deal, but I had planned to eat breakfast. I was just going to make some ramen. And, yeah, so don't want to sit around cold soaking for an hour, so kind of out of luck there. I'll figure it out. So today is going to be an interesting day. We're going to hit some waterfalls, one stream that may or may not be passable, and we're going to hike up to the top of Mount Kinsman. There's a south peak and a north peak, so we'll hit the south peak first. So we start the day with almost a 2,000 foot climb, pretty steep, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've had a lot of the people tell us, and reading the far out comments, that some of this is going to be technical, some of it's going to be difficult. So we'll do it. This is like a cool place on a hot summer day to get in the water. It's pretty deep right over there. This is the trail, right through there. So this is my breakfast this morning. Bobo's protein bar. I really like those. And these gummies, which I really like because I bought like 400 of them. I eat 2 or 3 a day sometimes. But hopefully that's enough to get me, well, we'll see. I have a couple more of the Andes and that's it. I do have a peanut butter packet, so I can eat that. Yeah. So I guess the other thing I could do, of course, is take my pack off and take the ramen out of my food bag and cold soak it. I could eat it in an hour or so. I might do that. I don't think I'm going to last. Hunger's here. Alright, it's about a 1 mile in. We've been walking alongside the stream that is mostly waterfalls. for the last 3/4 of a mile. We'll be leaving that soon and heading into a marsh bog, which I understand we're going to get wet. I've been able to not be wet, though it really doesn't matter because I put on totally wet socks and wet shoes this morning. But yeah. So I did stop and put together ramen in the water to cold soak. Quit being lazy, basically. And yeah, so within some time after an hour later, I can have my lunch. So this is the last of the waterfalls. We actually cross the stream here and go up that hill. This is one of the little bridges you cross, and it's seen better days. In fact, if you put your foot on this one, it just kind of sinks down. Climbing. We've been climbing up boulders. It's kind of like what we're doing. Yeah, this climb was hard. You can't even see the bottom. It curves around and keeps going down. It's all been boulders. You know it's hard is when you have to quit using your poles and use your hands quite often, grabbing trees and rock outcroppings, whatever you can. Anyways, I do enjoy it. It makes it more challenging, and I do like that. Slows me down though. There's my issue that's affecting me is ever since my fall, I've kind of lost confidence in wet rocks. And so you hear me talk about that a lot. Apologies. But yeah, so now I've got to climb up this all the way. And it's just, you know, one big slab of rock that's wet. So we'll see how it goes. Put the phone away. We're getting close to Harrington Pond, which will be interesting. Just got to do some more of these. I think we're reaching the section of Harrington Pond. The comments on Far Out app say that the bog boards are pretty much underwater or will sink when you step on them, and your feet will get wet. So yeah, so far so good. Oh, okay, so one of the problems is these are half-cut logs, they're round on the bottom, which means they will roll. Okay. I guess there's a bog board in here. They said to make sure you feel like a blind man's cane to feel the bog board, because if you step off the bog board, you can sink up to your knees in mud. So this is fun. Here's the end of the board. All right. Oh, here's another one. Oh, shit. Oops. Okay, well, that wasn't too bad. Deep, deep, deep. Well, I guess it's just the way it is. Hopefully this doesn't go on too long. Yeah, so this is the trail. We need to climb up about 1,000 feet in a mile to South Kinsman Peak. That's our next thing. Okay, this climb up Kinsman may overtake the climb up Moosalak as the hardest climb I've ever done. There's so much times I've had to grab rock or trees or roots just to pull myself up. There's Moosalak had a lot of help, like stairs and rebar and that kind of stuff. We've got nothing here, and we just keep going. We've been doing this for a long time. Now I've got to climb up that from here somehow. All right, survived the last one. It's still alive. Got about 400 feet more of this before we hit the south peak of Kinsman. Almost done to the top, but it's raining. All right, I think this is the top of the south peak of Kinsman, and I think the views here are just like the views we had at Moosalok. Yeah, nothing. Whew. I wish it was all downhill from here, but it's not. It's going to be a little downhill. Then we have to climb the north peak of Kinsman, but it's not a big climb. Then it'll be all downhill mostly. All right, selfie with a view. Check out that view. Woo, woo, woo. All right, so I'm gonna I promise I'd tell you a little bit why I didn't sleep well last night. It's kind of amusing and unfortunate. So yeah, I'm a light sleeper. The slightest thing wakes me up. So as I was walking up the mountain, I was doing an internal debate on whether to go into the shelter or tent. And, you know, there's advantages and disadvantages. And the shelter's a nice shelter, you know, no mice issues as I understand it. And looked beautiful. It wasn't crowded. But, you know, there was a few people in there. And if I was in my tent, I could have a nice restful sleep because I wouldn't be woken up by people even just moving on their air mattresses. It's sometimes, especially the older ones, they're crinkly. Yeah, so as I'm setting up my tent, two other hikers show up, these two women, and they decided to set up their, no, this is after I set up my tent. I've been there a while. So they decided to set up their tents, and they set them up right next to me. And I don't even think that was a real tent site, but it was flat, I guess. So anyways, I wasn't worried about it. I was like, cool. So so the other tent was like 4 feet from me, and didn't think much about it until we're all sleeping, and the most god-awful snoring started. And it wasn't just one of them, it was both of them. One worse than the other though. And it kept me awake. And so I kept waking up. Finally I just turned on my phone and started playing games on my phone for a couple hours until I felt tired enough that maybe at that point it wouldn't wake me up. So anyways, that was my night. It was kind of ridiculous. Yeah, sometimes stuff happens. So I guess that cairn wasn't the peak of South Kinsman. I just checked my app and we're still 0.2 miles away and climbing. So yeah, cool. So this must be the real peak. Maybe. I don't know now. I think so. Or is that the peak? We had over 5 hours of this kind of climbing. Ooh, it's a workout. All right, at the top of North Kinsman Peak, there's a way to get to a viewpoint, but there's no view. It got sucked in again. Descending. Still have about 2,500 feet to go. Just when you think you're done with the climbing, it keeps going up. So at least they put carved out some footholds in the stone. All right, we're at Lonesome Lake Hut, and as through hikers, they gave us some free soup. There was a veggie pot pie, and we had a little bit of vegan cake, which is pretty awesome. So, oh, and they had coffee and lemonade. Great timing, awesome. Feel much better. Real happy. Lonesome Lake Hut. We're going to be approaching Cascade Brook, which we heard could be an issue because of the high water. We'll see. Maybe it's died down. It's a cool pond. And if I lived near this, it would be a cool area to come to. So most of the trail after the hut has been just hopping from rock to rock in a stream bed. You know, we left the shelter, we hiked up south and then north Kinsman Mountain, and then down. And I can tell you, it's been a super hard day. Man, even Buzz mentioned, you know, that prior to today, the hardest thing we had climbed was Mount Musalak. And as of today, nope, it's Kinsman. And I agree with him. It was harder. It's the hardest thing we've done on the AT so far. And, you know, combination of yesterday and today pretty much has kicked my butt. You know, the errors, you know, not having fuel, not getting a real good cup of coffee, and not eating the right breakfast probably didn't help. And, you know, we learned from that, but, yeah, just not had a good day. I mean, it's funny because, you know, I'm still thinking, like, this trail has been pretty epic. What we've been doing is pretty epic. It's cool, you know. I mean, the whites are pretty awesome. But personally, I'm just having a hard time. And I can't wait for this day to end. I can hear cars down on the expressway or freeway, depending on where you're from. And somewhere down there is Vanish. And I just can't wait for this day to get over. We thought we'd be done, I don't know, noon, 1 o'clock, 2 at the latest. What is it? It's past, it's getting closer to 6. Kind of gives you an idea how the day has gone. And it wasn't that long of a distance. I think we only went 8 or 9 miles. This is all the climbing. And it's not just easy climbing. You know, it's like there were so many times I had to grab trees or pieces of rock just to kind of steady myself, both on the way up and on the way down. And yeah, so it's ended up doing more of a full body workout. And yeah, I'm freaking tired. My feet hurt, and I just want it to be over. I'll feel better in the morning. Yeah, one of the ideas was we would be done early, and I get back to the hotel. I think we changed hotels now. We're now in, I think, somewhere in Lincoln, New Hampshire. But yeah, I would get back to the hotel early afternoon and get some work done. And of course, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. And as trashed as I am, I'm not sure how much work I'm going to get done either. So we shall see. There's been talk of us taking the 0 tomorrow to kind of recuperate, reevaluate. You know, I know most of my gear is wet. You know, some of it needs to be cleaned. It's just all a bit of a mess, so that's going to take some time. Anyways, that's the State of the Union, basically, for today. And yeah, we'll regroup. I don't want to be here all negative. We've done good for the last 2 days. It's just hard, if that makes sense. Yeah. All right, I'm following the Cascade Brook Trail, which is the AT here, and it crosses under the bridge of this busy road. Keep hearing about this thing called the flume. I'll have to check it out, whatever it is. We're right on the edge of it. All right, one last note on the day. So it turns out there's no parking area where we popped out near the freeway or interstate. So we're walking to the nearest parking area, which is 0.8 miles away on a Blue Blaze trail. So it is what it is, but it kind of sucks because I'm tired and I'm just going to walk another 0.8 miles over rocks, crossing streams, and up hills. Oh well. Yeah, it'll be over soon.
So what you're telling me is you really like the whites.
I do, actually. It's funny. I love them and hate them. It's brutal, but it's beautiful and interesting, and I'm really appreciating that, and I'm fucking dying.